All right, hello everybody. As you probably already heard from my positive reaction, yeah, I was supposed to be here today on the stage, but unfortunately my COVID test came back positive, so I'm stuck at home. So we're gonna do it the right decentralized way, me presenting from Austria directly onto the stage in Paris, what we're doing at Authtrail. So 4 years ago, basically two significant things happened. One that was important to us, for example, was that if Authtrail was launched. The other thing was that at Web3 Summit, Gavin Wood introduced Substrate. And basically 4 years fast forward to today, we see where we are. We're at a conference talking about Polkadot, the ecosystem, the applications that have been built on top of it. And we've really come a really long way from back in 2018. However, what's still lacking is this mainstream adoption to really see enterprises, Web2 developers move over to Web3, start building on the Polkadot stack. And that's what we come into place. So my name is Matjaž Sobočan. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Authtrail. And I would like to show you what we've built in the past 4 years, how we came here, and what we're going to offer to the adoption of the Polkadot stack to the masses. But before I do so, I want to show you what we've done in the past 4 years, how we come to the introduction or connection to the Polkadot ecosystem. So we started back in 2018, as mentioned, as a response to an RFP. So a customer in Germany wanted to have more transparency from the enterprise data. So they had a supply chain and they just wanted to have more traceability of what they were doing. And we basically had two options. We either develop our own supply chain based blockchain, which back then already were 10 of them, or we could give the customer an easier onboarding experience, whereas we wouldn't develop a specific purpose-built blockchain, but rather use his existing infrastructure and create integration of APIs so they can leverage the existing infrastructure with the added benefit of having blockchain technology introduced into the environment. And as we've done that, we've seen quite good traction. So there were a lot of customers signing so-called letter of intents with us. We had a lot of POCs running and so on. And we slowly got a lot of traction in the European Union. So the data is basically being tracked or collected from those different enterprise integrations, and then we hashed it on Ethereum. So this was back in 2018, 2019. But we've seen kind of soon realized that to build a real customer-facing business on top of a, let's say, more or less unpredictable network like Ethereum was, we couldn't build a real business case on top of it because there were so many forks, upgrades, gas fees, fluctuating back and forth. We weren't able to hold our SLAs to our customers, specifically when it comes to response times and pricings. So we started looking for alternatives. What would be the best move to move over from Ethereum? And obviously, back then already, we saw Polkadot as being a very big player in the Web3 ecosystem, having this highly secured, governed infrastructure. So we got in touch with PureStake, the company behind Moonbeam, and we started cooperating, talking about the migration. And basically, we immediately fell in love with the team and how the Polkadot ecosystem is evolving. So our migration over from Ethereum to Moonbeam was a really seamless experience for us. As we wanted to really build a successful B2B solution for data integrity. And this was basically our first initial offering that we had. We had data integrity as a service for our customers. But during the time that our customers started using it, they saw, look, we need something more. We need something more tangible. But data integrity as a service is a nice to have feature, but we need something that we can offer to our customers where we will gain benefit from it. We will reduce our costs and basically position our brand into a more strong reputation. So we went back to the drawing board, started to develop some use cases that would expand the offering that we are offering with Moonbeam. And one of those discovered use cases was anti-counterfeiting. So basically offering the customers some kind of a brand reputation. And to achieve that, we started to integrate other parachains on the market. So one of them were, for example, Kilt. Kilt was offering us the data and the digital identity that we needed for our customers to have a digital identity on Web3 and basically verify the authenticity of their products. Then they started asking, okay, how about can we link some important data to it, like, or documents like certificates, manuals? Sure. So we started cooperating with Trust Network. So basically more and more parachains have been built into it. So it was then basically in this process, while we were doing that, we discovered that we're growing into a much bigger platform than just data integrity as a service. And we also soon realized that building something on top of the parachains is not that straightforward as we believed at the beginning. So there are a lot of different scripts, a lot of different documentation, a lot of different setups and so on. And we wanted to make something for ourselves that would make the integration easier. So while we were doing that, we kind of discovered that we're building something bigger. And this is how Authtrail 2.0 was basically born. But what we've came across, what the obstacles and hurdles were in the process are that we need kind of a common support for popular languages, right? So we have different substrate, Fluidity, Rust, and all those languages in the backend. And while the many dApps that are being built on top of it, we kind of need this, logical interconnection between those parachains. So we need to define a unique set of rules and specific setup that would enable Web2 developers to build on top of Polkadot to create some user-centric, user-facing application in a much easier way. We need to build those logical interchain connections. So having XCMP and having those multi-chain contracts, as Moonbeam just mentioned, is a nice backend feature, but still having it at the front end for end users, we need something more tangible that the end user can basically work with. And we need to decrease the learning curve, give the developers a much easier access to documentation, and help them understand the technology below that in a much faster way. So as mentioned, this led basically to develop, or we saw that that Authtrail is emerging into a larger platform, and Authtrail 2.0 was basically born. To put a little bit in perspective, I want to showcase quickly where we position ourselves in comparison to the Web 1 and Web 2 analogy. So basically Web 1 was a simple internet, read-only internet with a, let's say, more or less simple protocols below HTTP, SMTP, and so on. And we had the infrastructure, self-hosted infrastructure on a server-based level, which was more or less self-managed, and then simple read-only access services were built on top of it. Then we obviously had Web 2 that we're all familiar with the same protocols. The infrastructure shifted in a more centralized cloud environment like AWS Cloud Azure, where on top we then had different managed service providers like Stripe, Firebase, and MailerLite. And on top of that, we have those big FANG organizations that are basically using data for the monetization. Where we see now, obviously, the Web3 infrastructure is that we have Polkadot as the smart, highly governed protocol below. We then have the purpose-built parachains as the infrastructure layer, each owning their own each of them kind of serving their own purpose. We have Moonbeam for data integrity, smart contracting, Kilt for digital identity, Akala for DeFi financing, Fala for cloud computing, Trust for storage, and so on and so on. And more parachains will also be added at the backend. But at the front end, new applications are emerging, like NFT, DeFi, enterprise applications. What we're still lacking is having those developers moving over from Web 2 to Web 3 and being familiar with the languages and be comfortable writing applications on top of it. And this is where we see Authtrail playing a big role in between. Now, this might sound like a very marketing-ish slide, but in reality, we did in-house testing on deploying Authtrail or using Authtrail or going straight to the parachains and building applications on top of it. So we gave our junior developers some tasks, some applications to be developed on pure parachains. And then the other group had the access to our platform where they would be using simple languages, developing the same application on top of it. And in essence, it was 10 even faster, but let's stay with 10 times for now when it came to the end product. So what we're actually offering, how does the platform look like? once we have straightforward, simple APIs, where you have direct access to the simple parachains in the backend. So those are REST APIs at the front end. We have a single source of knowledge, which means we have unified API documentation with comprehensive code snippets. We have, well, what I believe is essential for having a platform like this. It's basically a one doc for everything. No more searching for documentation for each parachain. It's a single source of knowledge. When you go into the platform, you have immediate access to the parachains at the backend. And on the front end, we then obviously have inclusive SDKs for various programming languages. So there are going to be SDKs for JavaScript, TypeScript, Java, C++, which is going to be more or less an open source community-driven layer where Web2 developers, Web3 developers can co-engage and build those SDKs on top. Obviously, to have an enterprise-focused platform, we also need some monitoring and analytics to kind of enclose all the ecosystem. So the monitoring will be really a real-time overview of the backend performance, be it transactions at the backend, be it balances, be it downtimes, upgrades, whatever is happening on the protocol infrastructure layer, as we call it, we will be able to monitor it and then trigger the alerts accordingly to inform the developers on the front end about any hiccups that are occurring in the backend, but also clear insights into activity and transaction data via the analytics engine. So how come, or how does this all then come together? How does it look like in the Authtrail? So basically we have Polkadot at the backend as the layer 0. We have the different parachains building the infrastructure layer with different APIs up to the SDKs. And you can imagine right now we have, I believe, 13, 14 parachains that are really live on the Polkadot network. And the main goal would be hundreds. But then if we go over the hundreds as well with the different relay chains being connected, we can go into the thousands. You can then see the complexity that will grow out of it, and having the option to build simple API or simple applications on top of it is not going to be that much straightforward anymore. So we are trying to really consolidate all those parachains into one simple application platform, managed service platform, and then opening up the SDKs on the front end to give Web2 developers the possibility to build Web3 applications. So in essence, to kind of summarize all of this together, we're trying to build or help builders build Web3 easily and quickly in an effective, intuitive, and flexible way. We've struggled with it. We've seen how not so straightforward it is to really build end-user applications on top of it. That's why we wanted to open up and share our knowledge and share our discoveries with the world. And yeah, we'd like to welcome everyone on board, and let's build Web3 together. Thank you.